Right. I'm just going to play a new instrumental before I start things properly while people come in and sit down. If that's what people are going to do. Okay, I hope it's working. This is called The Last Bus Home. Right, now I'm just going to check that everything is working. Good. Alright, looks like it might be. So, I'm going to try and distract everyone for an hour with what someone recently said to me. What I do is cheerful pessimism, which I think is about all you can expect, especially in these difficult times that we're in. And I quite like the cheerful bit in that. And so I thought I'd do something a little bit different from a standard gig, since this isn't a standard gig. It's a pretty weird thing to do a gig in your house into a phone. And I thought I'd do it on a theme, and well, the music business, if you can actually call it that, is in my opinion, it's all about the experiences that you have and the adventures and the memories that you accumulate from doing this wonderful thing. And I've been going all over the place doing it, and I remember a tremendous amount of tiny detail. And one of the things that I am conscious of is that I remember some things that happened when I did a particular song, and it might be a song I've done hundreds of times, but I can remember certain occasions when that stand out in the memory. So I thought I'd tell a couple of stories about these and do those songs. And so I've tried to prepare for this gig in the way I prepare for every other gig, which is to spend days worrying about parking. And so I've managed to manufacture working about parking, despite the fact my car has been outside my house now for a very long time. I'm not asking people to donate money, but please have a look at the links on the Facebook page for buying albums, because the best way of supporting me and us and what we do is to buy albums. So I'm going to start off with Big Mary's House, which is a song that we have done a great many times, and we normally open with this when I'm with Charles as a duo, or when Charles and Ben and I are doing the band thing. It's normally our opening song, and I've done it hundreds and hundreds of times, but I've just about never done it solo. And I've got two little memories of doing this song that stand out. One is when I did it solo. I decided for some reason to start a solo set at Wessex Folk Festival on Weymouth Harbour a couple of years ago. And as I stood up to play, and festivals are quite demanding in the sense that you don't have any time to prepare really, you just jump up and do your thing. And as I was just about to embark on my first song, I became conscious of the fact that to my left I was being attacked, and to my right I was being attacked, and to the left of me, because this was on the harbour, was a whole pile of seagulls coming in and obviously trying to get the hot dogs and chips that people were having. So to the left of me came seagulls, and to the right of me an even more terrifying sight, which was troops of Morris dancers approaching with menaces. So I'm going to do the song now. I wanna go to Big Mary's house all night long. Big Mary's house all night long. Big Mary's house all night long. Okay, I'm going to change now to the guitar that got me started in all this, and do this song called Bombs Coming Down. It's not maybe the cheeriest topic, but this is the song I wrote about World War II and my dad, and it's a true story, and that came from thinking about different generations and what they were doing when they were 21 years old, what I was doing, what he was doing, what other people were doing at this age. And I've done this song a great many times, and I've always been a bit worried about whether it's a bit of a downer, but sometimes when I do it, something really happens in the room and it becomes, I think, quite emotional for people, which means it then does for me. And I remember particularly a room in Pontefract a year or so ago when it felt like something happened in the room when I did this song, and it was quite moving. And I also remember some years ago I went to a place called the Boogaloo in Highgate, and I played there. It was a night when there was lots of people playing. I think I was just about when I got started, and I did this song, and as I was doing it I became conscious of a sort of hissing noise to the right of me, and there was a person there. I couldn't really see them, and they sort of noise, and I couldn't tell whether it was approval or I don't know what. It was a very strange noise. And when I came off from playing, a woman came up to me and said, would I go and have a word with Shane? And Shane McGowan was there. He was local to the place. I think he spent a lot of his time in there. And I don't really know much about him, but he wanted to speak to me, so his person had come to ask me if I would go and speak to him. So I went over, and he was talking like with a lot of this hissing. But what he said to me was that he understood what I was doing. He got exactly what I was doing, and then he told me what I was doing, which was taking this kind of blues form and doing something different with it, and something that had something to say. And he was extremely complimentary, and he and I, to his great amusement, shared a lime and soda, which at this point in time was the known drink of drunks who weren't drinking. And my last memory of it for today is that when I got started I used to play the jams in the London scene. Jam scene in London was great, a lot of really fantastic musicians. Because I used to play the electric guitar at them because they were all electric. But I don't do guitar solos. I've no idea how to play a guitar solo. And so everyone wanted to play with me because they got to play the solos. But I was inept, as I still am, at stagecraft. And I did this song, and on one occasion got to the end of it and stepped on my guitar lead and pulled the lead out of the guitar. And so the last part of the song had to be covered for me by the guy who was playing lead guitar, who was a fantastic musician called Yuki McClure, a very funny guy. And afterwards we were out on the street having a fag, and I said, you know, that was awful what happened there. And he said, oh, don't worry. He said, you've got a long time to learn. And then there was a pause, and he said, actually you haven't, have you? Here's the song. Now when my dad was 21, there was a man dropping bombs on everyone. He went down into a shelter one time, 5 little kids sitting in a line, and each and every one was dead. There was no sound. That's what happens when there's bombs coming down. Now when my dad went home that day, his house was gone, all blown away. Some of his stuff, it was still intact, but a citizen took care of that. Stole those precious things away, they couldn't be found. That's what happens when there's bombs coming down. My dad was 25. He was pretty damn glad just to be alive. The council said you can have some land, you can put up a house, we'll give you a hand. We're gonna make a brand new start, rebuild this town. Now there's no more bombs coming down. I was just coming up. My dad said life, it can be tough, but I was listening to records and having a good time. We were talking about freedom and the world was mine, but I thought about those kids in a line. I was safe and sound, but you gotta watch out for those bombs coming down. Those kids in a line, I was safe and sound, but you gotta watch out for those bombs coming down. Okay, now the next one I'm going to do that has some kind of memory for me is when we went to BBC last year and did the Kerris Matthews show, and I went there with Ben and Charles and worried for several weeks about parking in the centre of London, and so as these things go, we decided that Charles would drive us, so I drove to Ben's and Charles drove us there. And amazingly, he managed to park right outside the BBC, something which I would not have achieved, and which in a way pissed me off a very great deal. And it was an interesting experience doing the show because it was completely live, and I've done a lot of radio, including BBC, and not much of it's gone out live straight away, so it was a little bit unnerving, and it wasn't very clear to us what we were doing and when we were doing it, and so we just suddenly were summoned into the room, and I had to do talking coherently and playing two different guitars, and Ben handed me the guitars when I swapped around. I had to swap from one to another while simultaneously fielding questions I didn't know about. It was all fine, but it was a challenge. And one of the songs we did was this one, What Son Has Said. And I found out a week or so later that this one got chosen to be on Radio 2's Pick of the Week show, which was quite something, and put me on a playlist with ABBA and Miley Cyrus and Take That and other people now much more, well, marginally more famous than me. It's a song that I very first did when I'd written it at Ripley in Yorkshire, Ripley Town Hall, and it's like all these gigs are an adventure. You often don't know what you're going to find when you get there, and often it's a very nice surprise. And I didn't know Ripley, and Ripley is like it's a whole little town, a little village, I suppose, that was built by the Lord of the Manor in the, I think, 19th century. There's a castle there, and the Lord of the Manor decided after a trip to France that his estate should have a village in it. So he built a village in the style of what he'd seen in France. So everything has got French names, and although I played in the town hall, it was l'Hôtel de Ville, wasn't it? It was a wonderful venue and a fantastic audience and a beautiful place and great sound and everything. And I did this song for the very first time, and you don't know if they're any good or not, or how they'll go down. And I noticed when I did this one that a certain kind of quiet descended on the room, and sometimes when that happens it's I mean, the room was quiet anyway, but it took a different kind of quiet on. And you know, when you do these things, you don't know how they go down, and you get a feel for how they've gone down. So here's the song, What Son Has Said. What you think's the best of you is actually your worst. So many things in this life that ought to be reversed. What you think's a blessing is actually a curse. So many lessons to be learned, but which ones to learn first? I'm thinking about what somehow said. Blues is love turned on its head. I'm not sure what I get from you, but it sure ain't the blues. I'm not sure what I get from you, but it sure ain't the blues. You see something in me that simply isn't there. It's not your fault you see it. It's not my fault it isn't there. Might become a stranger of the troublous kind. It might not work out, but never mind. I'm thinking about what somehow said. Blues is love turned on its head. I'm not sure what I get from you, but it sure ain't the blues. I'm not sure what I get from I'm thinking about what somehow said, blues is love turned on its head. I'm not sure what I get from you, but it sure ain't the blues. I'm not sure what I get from you, but it sure ain't the blues. No, it sure ain't the blues. No, it sure ain't the blues. Okay, now I'm going to do this one that's over the years been one of the favourites. It's another case where you write a song and you go out to do it and you don't know if it's any good or not. And I remember doing this one after we rehearsed it at Bearded Theory Festival. It was a huge festival in Derbyshire, fantastic. And we got up and we did this first, and the minute that we started it I thought, yeah, this one, I quite like this one. And I'm going to tell a little story about it after I've done it, because that's when the story will make sense. But I went and did it on my own on a local BBC radio station. And this song's Black Dog Moan, which is, I always say, it's about how if your life isn't perfect in every way, you might want to consider putting up with that. Girl in Meadowland, and I really love the bits of her I can stand. All the rest I can take or leave, and I'm pretty sure she feels the same about me. There's no gold in the mine, but the dust is fine. If there's no good liquor, drink turpentine, and let that black dog moan. Folks that don't say good things about me. It all started out okay, but then it was downhill all the way. There's no gold in the mine, but the dust is fine. If there's no good liquor, drink turpentine, and let that black dog moan. Oh, my business ain't my business anymore. And there's someone with my name out there doing stuff, what is his game? Oh, there's no gold in the mine, but the dust is fine. If there's no good liquor, drink turpentine, let that black dog moan. Right, for the next one I'm going to go on the 12 string. And I'm going to do Crematorium Blues. Which, despite its title, is not at all miserable. Song, it's not really even about that. I've done this a lot, and I suppose the association here isn't really a story. It's that when I started, when we started, we had Will Greener on harmonica with us, and Will a few years ago stopped playing and went to live abroad, but he did a tremendous number of gigs with me and was a quite brilliant harmonica player, unlike any other, I would say. And in particular on this song, he did a monster of a harmonica solo. It's pretty silly for me to say this because obviously you won't hear that. But if you get the album Crooked Smile, which this song is on, you can hear him in all his glory. And so this song reminds me of Will, and in particular of a time that we went and did a session for Roots and Fusion Radio with Rick Stewart up in Stockport. Lips are sealed on what happened at this epic occasion, but I do remember in the pub that we commandeered to do this session, quite extraordinary solo played by Will on this one. And my other little memory of it is not so long ago announcing that this was the title of the next song, and a woman in the audience shouting, "Please don't!" And this gig was in Eastbourne. We used to laugh in the back row, but we're not laughing now. Well, the longer it goes on, the sooner it comes round. Well, she was a good friend of mine, she's at the end of the track. Well, I know that she's gone now, she won't be coming back. Ashes to ashes, gone up in smoke, stand on the corner, make a gallows joke. The money comes in and the money goes out, dancing on the deck while the ship goes down. I don't know what your name is, don't know where you came from, but if you've been in a dark place, I'm sure we'll get along. All over the town there's people heading for Skid Row, so don't forget a kindness, 'cause you won't get many of those. Ashes to ashes, gone up in smoke, stand on the corner, make a gallows joke. The money comes in and the money goes out, dancing on the deck while the ship goes down. You talk about hard times, what hard times have you had? Everyone needs a bit of luck, lately mine's been bad. There's gonna be no harvest, there's no wheat, and there's no corn. But the sun started shining, maybe I can be reborn. Ashes to ashes, gone up in smoke, stand on the corner, make a gallows joke. The money comes in and the money goes out, dancing on the deck while the ship goes down. Ashes to ashes, gone up in smoke, stand on the corner, make a gallows joke. The money comes in and the money goes out, yeah, dancing on the deck while the ship goes down. I'm just going to leave that note there for a bit. Okay, so next up, I'm going to do your second line. Now, this really has a strong memory for me, although this is a song that we've done more than any other, of the first gig we ever did. And the first gig we ever did was at a place called the Lumiere in Kilburn, which was a really great venue. It was a former cinema. They closed down shortly after we played it, purely coincidental. And the little story here is that I never intended to do any gigs. I never imagined that I would do any of this or travel around playing live and all that kind of thing. I had no idea of doing that. I just wanted to play a little bit, I suppose, after many years of not doing so. And when I got started, I met Will and I met Charles. And so we played a little bit together at various places. And then Charles made this first album for me, Watching the Parade, which was really meant to just be for myself, or posterity, if you like. And then when it was finished and he'd done it, I thought it sounded quite good, and so I thought I might as well try and get a gig. And so at this time I was doing a bit of reviewing for various magazines of gigs and CDs. And well, I was down to go and review a band called the Holmes Brothers. And the Holmes Brothers, you should check them out if you don't know them. Fantastic guys from New Orleans, and they sadly two of the three of them have now died. But at the time that we did this gig, they were septuagenarians of some class and dignity, and they made a whole load of absolutely brilliant albums, hard to categorise, bit of blues, bit of, I suppose, roots music in general, bit of gospel, bit of country, and they were brilliant. And I really liked the Holmes Brothers, and so I was all set to go and review them. And then I noticed that there wasn't a support act, so I contacted the promoter, and he said, I sent him a track from this first album, and he said, yeah, come and do it. So first ever gig that we did was a paid gig in a really nice place with wonderful sound, and the sound engineer was brilliant. And by the way, it's nice to play these guitars in their natural state. I hope they sound okay coming over, because this is what they really sound like. And so we turned up to do this. There was a green room. It gave me the idea that every gig would have a green room. I think it was probably another 6 years before I had one. And we hung out with the Holmes boys, who were wonderful guys. And the drummer, I think, was Poppy. The interesting guy in the green room, he couldn't work out how to make a cup of tea. It turned out he was putting the tea bag in the kettle. Even by my standards of ineptitude, that's admirable. Anyway, we went out and did our set, and it was kind of magical, and it went incredibly well. And I was doing this song and doing the introduction to it, and it's about, well, the idea comes from the second line, which is a part of New Orleans tradition. At New Orleans funerals, the second line are the people that march behind the rest of the assembled people. And so I started talking about it. And it suddenly occurred to me that I might be talking crap. And I had a brief moment of complete loss of confidence, because I realised the Holmes guys were from New Orleans. So I said to the audience, actually, I might be wrong about this. And a voice called out from the darkness, "No, you're right, man!" And the Holmeses had come out to watch our set because they'd liked us in sound check, and they were very supportive and encouraging, and that made that a very special evening. And I remember that we came out onto the street afterwards and to go home, and I was thinking, this is where I fit. This is where I fit. Andy Snipper reviewed the gig. I don't know if Andy's watching this, but I remember him being there. occurs to me that I didn't tell the story. The one with Black Dog Moan, which was supposed to come after the song, though it is a story that's been told before, which is that that song which urges you to drink turpentine if you can't get good liquor. I did it on BBC Radio Gloucestershire some years ago, and that was live, and it was a really nice presenter, very good show, and I got to the end of the song and she went to the microphone and said, I just want to advise the listeners that they shouldn't follow what Mark has said in that song. And I started to chortle, as you would. I thought that's a pretty good line. But it turns out that in the climate of these days at BBC, where they're terrified of people suing them, that was actually genuinely meant as a warning that you shouldn't go down the shop instantly and buy a bottle of Terps and swig it, because bloke you've never heard of told you to do so on the radio. And that perhaps, I'd like to think it isn't, but perhaps it's a measure of how we are in this day and age. Okay, I'm going to move on to Hardware Store, another song I've done a lot, and though the song is sort of jokey, it's really about being unable to be ordinary and normal, and not thinking that that makes you special, but in fact it might make you ever so slightly inferior. Abiding memory of this one is when I played up in Northumberland a couple of years ago at a fantastic festival that hopefully we'll be playing as a band this year, called BAA Fest up in Bellingham, I think you pronounce it. It's a brilliant event. If you can possibly go to it, you should get tickets and go. And I stayed with some very good friends of mine up in Cumbria, and then I drove over to the festival, and it was the first time I'd done a festival on my own. And normally we do it with the band, and I prefer it that way, I guess. And anyway, I did this one solo, and I remember driving up there, and it was a glorious day, and I'd never been up to that part of the country before, and it's very special and very different from anywhere else. And I was actually really astonished at this site, which was kind of, I guess, wild and remote, but quite pleasant too. I don't know, it was a very special kind of countryside, and it put me in a really good mood. And I arrived at the site, and it was a lovely, fantastic festival. And I got up and did this, and the people had been there for 2 days now. I think I was on the 3rd day. It was a lovely crowd, fantastic crowd, and it was all full up, and they'd obviously been drinking whatever the modern day equivalent of Newcastle Brown is, but in reasonable quantities, so they were all mellow and in really good moods. And I did this song, and and they laughed at just about every line in it. And you know, I'm not setting out to be a comedian by any manner of means, and it's nice if there's something funny in there, but you know, I'm not trying to be a stand-up, and so I thought this is funny because they laughed at every line. And when I came off afterwards, I got a fantastic reception. It was a wonderful gig, and it was great in every way. And having watched these people laugh all the way through, then this guy came up to me and said, "Are you always that miserable?" Well, I suppose depending on your definition of miserable, the answer to that is yes. No, I don't want to go there anymore. I don't want to go to that hardware store. I said I place where I do not belong. So I don't want to go there anymore. I don't want to go to that hardware store. Now all those things they sell down in that hardware store, oh, I don't know what they do and I don't know what they're for. Oh, everybody else is looking right at home, getting on with doing what has to be done. Oh, but I don't want to go there anymore. I don't want to go to that hardware store. There are things I'm good at, that's for sure, but you can't find them in that hardware store. If you know what to do down in that hardware store, you can fill in the cracks, stop that draft through the door. You can fix up your life, you can make things work. You can hammer in nails and you won't get hurt. Oh, but I don't want to go there anymore. I don't want to go to that hardware store. I said I don't want to go there anymore. No, 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 I don't want to go to that hardware store. I said I don't want to go there anymore. No, 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 I don't want to go to that hardware store. Okay, I'm going to do two more which have stories and then that's it. So the next one concerns Glasgow, and a little while ago I had the great honour of being booked for my own headline concert at Celtic Connections, which is the biggest roots music festival probably in the world, and a tremendous thing to play, and very big time. And we went up there, and on the way up there stopped at the services and got a text message from someone who said, "Hi, I'm Caitlin, I'm your personal assistant." So I arrived at the venue and indeed there was Caitlin. I said, "What does that mean, a personal assistant?" And she said, "I'm here to take care of you." I said, "You have no idea how big a job that is." She gave me a bottle of plastic water and scampered away. It was a wonderful, wonderful occasion. It was a sold-out concert in Glasgow Art Club, designed by Charles Rennie Mackintosh, in the wood-panelled galleries, wonderful sound, fantastic audience. It was a really brilliant night, a great success, and I have to say in many ways a triumph, and it was great to do it. And part of the thing was that we were then whisked away by people with walkie-talkies into a van and our stuff taken down immediately to play another late night gig at the Glasgow Art School. I think it's now burnt down. We didn't really know what this was. We were supposed to do half an hour, and various artists who were playing that night in Glasgow were invited to do it. And when we got there, it was a massive crowd snaking round, queuing up to get in, because roots music was cool in Glasgow, and all the hipsters, all the young folk were there. It was a real big occasion, hundreds of them, I don't know, 800, 900. But we were taken in through the back way to the dressing rooms, and so we didn't see the audience until we actually got on stage. So we came through the back on the stage and were greeted by this, the sound of 800 people who had been consuming a substance called Bucky. There's this Buckfast, which is a tonic wine. I hadn't heard of it before, many of you know all about it. And later I got told that it was a real big deal up there, and that if I looked at the ground I would see 1 million crushed bottles of Bucky on the pavement. And also that it was mentioned specifically as involved in 80% of all violent crime. And this woman told me this afterwards, and I said, how could you possibly know that? She said, I'm a lawyer, and it is specifically mentioned in 80% of police reports. So great to be playing to a crowd of hundreds and hundreds of people who were likely simmering on Bucky. And when we came out, I said to Ed, who was with me, we've come, we've done what we came to do, let's just enjoy ourselves here. So we kicked off, and we were incredibly loud. The sound crew had it amazingly loud, and audience was very loud. And I said something about our journey before we did this song. And I said what had happened was that as we arrived in Glasgow, we saw a sign on the motorway that said, you're in Glasgow, and a warning. This was in January. There's a warning, low temperatures. I was thinking, well, it's a shame we packed all our stuff for the equatorial rainforest then, isn't it? Because obviously you wouldn't expect low temperatures in Glasgow in January. And I said this, and audience sort of went, oh. And they started to pay attention to us, and as our set went on, they absolutely loved it, and we got the most incredible reception. And so I remember, this is the song that kicked that off. It's called Reckless. It's about not having inhibitions, and it's enviable, I suppose, if you don't have them. But there's lots of people out there who are shameless, and it might seem like a good thing to be. The trouble is I don't like any of them. Well, I'm gonna get reckless, I'm gonna go wild, going out in the world, just like a motherless child. I'm gonna swap my frown for a crooked smile, so you might not see me for a little while. And I'm gonna get careless and gonna give her down. I'm gonna start bluffing with a loser's hand. I'm not gonna worry, not even gonna think. Gonna stare right ahead, and I'm not gonna blink. Reckless, I ain't holding back. I'm gonna start walking down forbidden tracks. I'm gonna howl like a hound dog on a moonlight night. Gonna make like a blind man got his second sight. And I'm gonna get careless, ain't no diplomat. I'm not gonna say sorry, no, the hell with that. Gonna make like a hound dog, not a slaughtered lamb. Gonna talk to the devil, I'm sure he'll understand. just like a motherless child. I'm gonna swap my frown for a crooked smile, so you might not see me for a little while. No, you might not see me for a little while. Said you might not see me for a little while. Right, I'm going to do my last one now for today. And this is a real special memory. This is Shake the House, a song that we always end, or generally speaking end, with the band. I never do it on my own, I'm going to do it on my own now. And the memory for this one is Purbeck Folk Festival in Dorset, a wonderful folk festival, and we played it as a band some years ago. There were 6 of us in the band at the time. And I stayed overnight in a tent. I've not stayed in a tent very much in my life, and don't propose doing so again. It's bizarre to me that anyone would do that. And I borrowed a tent kindly lent to me that was a single tent. And I got in this thing. It was like having an MRI scan. How you were supposed to sleep in this goddamn thing, I don't know. But I didn't. I spent the night sitting in the car. But the gig we did was wonderful. And here's the story, the experience of it, that we played on, I guess, one of the main stages. And the stage was at the bottom of the hill in this field, and therefore the audience was rising above you in the field. And when we first started, there were not that many people there. People come and go from the stages, depending on when the previous actors finished. And so there was some people there, and as we continued playing, it built and built and built until the whole hillside in front of us was filled with people. And it got dark while we were playing, and so we went from sunshine to the dark, and it was quite a special atmosphere. And about halfway through the set, the place was rammed, and the whole hillside in front of you was full of people, and they were all really enjoying it. And you know, not for the first time, we perhaps were doing music a bit different to what everyone else was doing, and you never know how that will go, but they were really enjoying it, and it was becoming something really quite special. And I said something, I can't remember what it was, and everybody laughed. It was quite strange to hear so many people laugh in one go. And anyway, we got it was a wonderful occasion and very, very memorable. And then we got to the last song, which was this one, and so we started playing it. 2 people got up and started dancing right in front of the stage, and I have a pretty high embarrassment factor, and I thought, oh dear, that's quite embarrassing, 2 people. And I looked up at the end of the next verse, and the entire hill had got up and was dancing. And it's a quite extraordinary thing to see hundreds of people dancing to your music. It was a wonderful, unforgettable occasion. So here's the song, and I'll try and do it as best I can without the bits that the other guys do. And so I'll then do a ham-fisted finishing of this gig. I hope if you've watched it, I hope it's come over okay and you've enjoyed it. Please do buy albums off me. That's the best way to support me, and that's on the website markharrisonrootsmusic.com. There's a shop, and you can also look up Mark Harrison on Bandcamp if you'd prefer to download them rather than have a physical CD. So I'm overrunning, so I'll do this and then that's it. Spend your time in dives, live a flea pit life, sleep Right, that's it now. So this has been brought to you from my guitar room at the top of my house in Chipping Norton in Oxfordshire. And it's a glorious day here, and to the side, both sides of me I have wonderful uplifting views of the Oxfordshire countryside, and not far away the very nice town. And so I hope you've enjoyed this from home, and I'm now going to switch it off.